The truth is, if you actually want to become financially successful, there's two things that you need to do. It's a two-pronged approach. You have to get very good at whatever it is that you're doing, right? You have to learn skills, develop your skills, learn new skills that are in demand. And you have to be okay with working a lot because the world is fucking competitive. There are people like me, all I do is fucking work. All I do is fucking work. I'm a multi-millionaire. I don't need to work as long and as hard as I do, but I do it anyway because it makes me feel good and because I'm not content and because I know the second that I just take a step back or, you know, turn the volume down a little bit, that's when I'm inviting complacency in. That's when I'm beginning to subscribe to this ideology that average people do. So the reality of it is you have to be willing to work a lot. And there's a formula for this. 40 hours, again, that's just survival. 40 hours is the 40-hour work week is modern day slavery. It's modern day slavery. They're paying you just enough for you to be able to keep a roof over your head, eat some food that's making you fatter and sicker and more lethargic and destroying your mental health. Every hour after 40, you have to look at as an investment in your future. And if you work 60 hours plus per week, your success over the long term is virtually guaranteed. And if you do not, then you're going to have an issue because we're sold this idea. You got to go to college, you got to get a good job, you got to get married, and you got to buy a house and all these things. Well, what's happening is people are going to college, they're accumulating immense debt that is unforgivable, right? They're now entering the real world, working a job for 40 hours a week, and they're expected to do that for 40 years. And then at the end of it all, right, this is what they sell people on. They sell people on this idea that at the end of it all, you work 40 hours for 40 years. At the end of it, you have retirement and you have this pension. And really what that is that's them paying you 40% of what you couldn't even live on in the fucking first place. And people aren't conscious of that. So the reality of it is, if you want to make a lot of money, you have to get very good at what you do. You have to be intentional about improving your skill set, and you have to become a problem solver. Problem solvers are value adders. If you are not an entrepreneur, you get to develop an entrepreneur mindset. And what that really translates to is just taking ownership, taking responsibility, treating the business, treating your workplace as if, you know, you were the one that's paying for the toilet paper, the pens, and the stationery and things like that. And the second thing I mentioned, it's a two-pronged approach as it relates to establishing financial freedom, is you have to invest. You cannot save your way to financial freedom, and it's not fucking possible. And to add to that, you don't need to be making a certain amount of money to invest. And this is a resistance point that you commonly hear. People will say, and I know people say this because I was one of those people for quite some time until I improved my financial literacy. People will say to themselves, oh, well, I'll start investing when I make more money. I'll start investing whatever. But the truth is, if you can't discipline yourself to invest at 20K a year, you won't be able to invest at 200K a year. You have to establish the patterns and the behaviors and the disciplines as early as possible. And the good part about investing is you don't need to be a finance expert to start investing. And I don't want to necessarily talk in detail about the different things that I invest in, but I've invested in other businesses. I have significant holdings in crypto, and I invest in the market. But when I started, when I didn't really understand investing, I didn't really know what to invest in, because that's another resistance point people have. So I don't know what to invest in. Invest in a low-cost index fund like the S&P 500. There's no risk. It's going to produce 10% consistent returns. And again, there's no risk, and you don't have to know a fucking thing about a certain company and the CEO, because the S&P 500, the VU 500, these low-cost index funds, they are basically like a combination of the 500 top businesses. So you're basically betting on the top 500 businesses. And again, there's no risk. Now, and then once you're in the game, you start paying a little more attention to it. But the reality of it is, financial freedom is not going to happen by you just working for 40 fucking years and getting a retirement pension of 40% of what you couldn't even live on in the first place. It's going to happen as a direct result of you establishing financial discipline and improving your financial literacy, improving your overall relationship with money, being okay speaking about money. If you're not, you don't have the strongest financial acumen, I completely understand. A lot of people don't. I didn't grow up with people teaching me this stuff. I grew up poor, right? I had to teach myself this stuff. So you got to seek out the information, right? People say that money is important to them. People, if you ask 10 people, 10 out of 10, they say, oh yeah, money's important to me. So, all right, well, how often are you talking about money? How often are you thinking about money? When's the last time you read a book on money, right? When's the last time you put in a purposeful intention to improve on your financial acumen or financial IQ? And the answer for most people is they haven't done that. But the truth is, you don't want to be a slave your entire life. And if you don't become very good at what you do and you're not investing, that's exactly what's going to happen. A common resistance point people have to not striving to be the best that they could at their job is, oh, well, I'm not passionate. I don't love my job. You don't have to be proud of your job, but as a man, especially, you have to be proud of your work because it is an extension of you. It's an extension of your character. It's an extension of your honor. It's an extension of your values. And follow your passion is another narrative that is purported in society. And a lot of people have been convinced that if they're not really passionate about something, that means they should just apply a half-ass effort and they shouldn't try very hard. Following your passion is the worst advice you could give somebody who's starting out, because most people are passionate about video games, about jerking off to porn, about things that add no value to their life. But the thing about passion is it can be developed. It can absolutely be developed. Become passionate about being the best, become passionate about making a lot of money, become passionate about elevating the people around you, become passionate about self-mastery. And when you flip that paradigm, it just changes everything. And that's one of the things that happened in 2016 with me was up until that point, I didn't like the business. I didn't like the nature of the business. I didn't like the work that I did. I didn't like the people I was working around. But it was because my perspective was just completely fucked. I was focusing on all the wrong things. Again, I was sold on this idea, follow your passion. Like I'm supposed to show up every day to work and I'm supposed to wake up every day and just feel so inspired to, go in and just give high fives to everybody. And I'm like, well, fuck, that ain't happening. So maybe I need to do something else. But once I started to become passionate about being the best, that is when we started to see significant success. We grew 336% in 2016. 336%. That's significant growth. And, that happened as a result of me raising my standards, becoming intolerant of the standards that I previously held, and just becoming obsessed, so obsessed and so disciplined to the point where other people thought I was psycho. I didn't give a fuck, to making sure that our company and our team was the best out
there. Yeah. And you created an environment and culture. So maybe, to the guys out there, entrepreneurship, business ownership is not going to be for everybody. There's going to be a small segment that is, on that journey. What should a guy be looking for though in a company culture that's going to maybe brew that environment where he can step in and he can go above and beyond? Because you and I both know that there are going to be some companies that don't appreciate that and don't acknowledge it, and actually they suppress it. So what are some of the traits, maybe that you've done within Nutrition Solutions, or just open, that a guy can look for and saying, hey, this is a company that's actually going to value me if I go the extra mile?
I think as a young man, if you are unsure of what your path is going to be in life, I think the best thing that you can do is work a manual labor job where the work is really hard, the hours are shit, and it is just a grueling, mentally taxing job, because those are the jobs that build character. And when you're young, and they also pay very well, by the way. And when you're young, you have basically unlimited energy. So it's an opportunity for you to develop your character, to develop work ethic, and to stack money. I'm not saying you need to do that for the rest of your life, but you can start making some good money if you're willing to work hard. Most people aren't willing to work hard, which is why most people don't make money, period, let alone in their early 20s. So I think you could do something like that. But you absolutely know that there are not many companies out there that prioritize culture. I mean, corporate America is modern day slavery. It is literally modern day slavery. You look at what slavery was back when it was legal. I don't think people realize that slavery wasn't, the slave owners didn't have the slaves chained up in the barn or whatever, right? They gave them room, they gave them board, and the slaves gave them their labor, right? And now in a more civilized world in modern times, we have these corporations that, again, they expect you to be there 40 hours a week doing unfulfilling work around a bunch of people who do not want to fucking be there. So you're in this low vibrational space, and you're not able to get ahead financially. So you're stressed out. You're stressed out about that. After work, you're, jerking off to porn or ordering pizza or chasing whatever little dopamine rush to try to, I guess, mask the fact that you were discontent with your own existence, getting high every night. Like the truth is, a corporate environment is your path. I think it's very important that you just develop an iron mindset, because again, being aware of certain things will allow you to kind of navigate around some of the more detrimental parts. But as a general rule, I think that people should avoid corporate jobs at all cost, absolutely at all cost.